Welcome to the Health Coach Show, a podcast about changing behaviours and creating healthier habits. I'm Shivaun.
And I'm Sharon Curtin, and we're both dietitians and accredited health coaches.
In today's episode, we're talking about why excuses are useful and how working with them helps to change behaviour. So Sharon, what do we hear? When we're talking about excuses, what are they? How do we feel about them?
Yeah, excuses, they're great, aren't they? Like, I don't have any time. It's too hard. It's too hot. It's too cold. I don't like the taste of water. What are some of your favorites?
Yeah, time's a big one. Yeah. I don't have time at the moment. Like if I had time, I'd do this, or I'm just really busy. Or weather's a big one when it comes to things like exercise, eating healthily. Again, that's a time factor. Or the kids don't like to eat it, or I don't like the taste of that, or it's too much effort to put, or it's too expensive. But usually it's too much effort, or it's it's not accessible, like in terms of healthy food. Sleep is I need my me time at night when all the family goes to sleep and kids go to bed, and I just, really want to watch something on TV or unwind a bit longer. Alcohol, it's social, it helps me relax. I'd lose my friends. It's fun. I become a boring person.
So I'm just not sporty. I'm not sporty. And you know what? I'm really busy looking after the kids, and I can't do it because I've got kids sport, and I've got I've got to do all these things to look after everyone else and not myself.
Yeah. And the reality is though, like we hear these excuses if we're working with people as a health coach, but ourselves, we also tell ourselves these things as well. And often though, we discount them, like, oh, it's just, really, it's just excuses. I really just have to get it done. It's like we minimize them. Then we sort of discount them. They're not really that real. Yeah, they're not valid. They're just excuses.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like as soon as we put that label that it's an excuse, all of a sudden, exactly what you said, we invalidate it. It's like it's not a real thing. It's an excuse. It's something that we're making up. We're making it up so we don't have to change behavior. And when we're working with someone and we hear these excuses, we feel frustrated, and we just sort of want to push them. Like those excuses don't really exist. We're just going to push them to the side, or we're going to brainstorm ourselves. Oh, well, why don't you do this? You could do this, or what about trying this? So we sort of we don't give them any time. We don't want to give them airtime, and we're worried if we do give them airtime that our clients are going to be even less likely to change behavior.
Yeah, exactly. We get scared of them when we hear excuses and we go, oh, okay, I heard busy. So what worked for me? Or maybe if I suggest some really quick ways that they can do exercise, or maybe if I, I talk about what my kids like, or, if I come up with some strategies that'll just overcome that excuse, I can help my client to change. And there's a small percentage of clients, or that's the issue, where it might be information or skill gap, but it's not usually a really great technique to just try to ignore excuses, brush them aside, and come up with as many strategies or solutions as we can to hopefully convince the client that this new strategy is the one that will get them all of a sudden not so busy and doing the behavior change.
Yeah, and it just creates discord, that disharmony. As soon as we don't listen to someone, as soon as we try and talk over the top of their excuses, or we try to minimize what's going on for them, they don't feel heard.
Yeah, exactly. And these excuses are really valuable. They're actually saying that they're the client saying to us, person saying to us, these are the things that are legitimately getting in the way. These are my big barriers at the moment, and I'm feeling overwhelmed by them. And they're the thing that is stopping me from creating this behavior change. So we need to really just honor that with the client and say, yeah, okay, tell me what's getting in the way for you. Tell me, really sort of get them all out. We're not going to get bogged down in them, but we really need to understand them, and we need to validate them before we can move forward with the client.
Yeah. My favorite metaphor, I love metaphor, Siobhan. And my favorite metaphor for what we do with excuses is we, like a magician's hanky, we just keep trying to pull them out. Like, what's getting in the way for you at the moment? Oh, I don't have a lot of time. Okay, tell me what's going on with that. And what else is stopping you? And then once we know all of the barriers and all the things that are getting in the way, we can actually support our clients to do something with that information.
Yeah, absolutely. So as soon as the client also, they hear us just sort of coming alongside them, being neutral and just saying, okay, yep, let's put all out on the table. What are the things getting in the way? Okay, great. So how have you got around those barriers in the past? Or have you got around those barriers in the past? And what did you do that worked? What have you thought of that could work in terms of getting around that barrier? And we start to then collaboratively brainstorm with the client. And you'd be surprised at how many things that they've already thought of, that they've done in the past. Like, there's actually a wealth of knowledge and resources there once they feel like, okay, I'm not going to, like, I'm totally accepted here, and I'm not going to be pushed or convinced to do the behavior. But the person listening to me and supporting me, the health coach supporting me, is literally just listening to me, validating them, and coming alongside collaboratively to come up with some ideas.
A tool that I really love is the double-sided reflection. Like, when you're hearing the two things, you're hearing the barriers, and you're also, but maybe you've already heard that change talk and those really, their motivation to change. And sometimes we contrast them, but not in a way that we're trying to do anything except reflect them back to the client, that these are the two things going on for you. On one hand, you don't have a lot of time, and on the other hand, eating well is really important to you. And let them see that they've actually got the barrier, but they've actually got a behavior that they're really craving, that they want to change.
And when you do that and you just present it back, the client will, well, firstly feels heard, and then secondly will actually say, yeah, actually eating healthier or whatever it is important to me because of these reasons. And so it strengthens someone's importance, so the reason why they really want to do it. So that means it increases their motivation. And then once, they've sort of got that clear, then you can support them to say, okay, it is important to you because of these reasons, and you are busy at the moment. What could work in terms of still getting something done in this busy lifestyle?
Yeah, absolutely. And once they're all out, all of those pieces of the excuse puzzle are all out on the table, a client can then go, that's a real excuse. That's not really a real excuse. Not that they're not real, but that's something I can overcome. That's something I can't overcome. And then once you've got that information about what can be moved and what can't, then they feel more empowered to start to make some decisions around the things that they can change.
Yeah, exactly. So it's as you say, they've got everything out on the table. They can actually work out what is the easier thing to work on first, what might be the hardest thing. You've got a bit of clarity. Like, I love with coaching, we really help people. They go in with messy head, or they haven't thought about something, and we create that space for them to really sit back and go, okay, one, I'm not judged right now. This is a safe space. This coach is coming alongside me. They're really curious. They've validated the fact that these in inverted commas excuses are real and they're getting in the way. And right now I've broken it down and I've worked out what's the low-hanging fruit, and that I feel confident that I can get started with, right away, and what might be a little bit more challenging, but I have my coach there in the corner that will support me with that sort of bigger barrier as we go forward. So clients leave the consults feeling like, all right, I've got a bit of a plan. I know where I'm headed. I feel supported. I know what steps I'm going to take to start overcoming these barriers. And so the confidence goes up. And then, like, if we've done our job really well as a coach, then a person is much more likely to have made some progress in between our sessions. And they come back and say, you know what, I am busy, but I did manage to start, packing a healthy lunch, or I did manage to get to bed that 15 minutes earlier. And I actually feel that sense of achievement. And I feel like maybe I can start to overcome some of these barriers together. And once you start getting some runs on the board like that and building the confidence, it actually means that the barriers feel a lot more surmountable. They're a lot easier to overcome, and clients feel like that hope goes up.
I love what you said about, as soon as they have that feeling of the control back, that, oh, this is what's going on for me, then all of a sudden they, like if you say, yeah, you are busy, but what's possible, that's so much better than saying, I'm not busy and I have no reason. It's not, it's invalid. But as soon as you accept that actually you don't have a lot of time and what's possible for you, then we can really start to make some changes.
And when we acknowledge those inverted commas excuses or those barriers, then we can work with them, as opposed to just going, oh, your excuses, when I don't have that excuse, like when I'm not busy, or, sometime in the future. We can't work with that. The excuse just stays there the whole time. I can't do this because of the excuse. But if we go, okay, well, it's valid. That's a barrier. So how can we work with that barrier? How can we break it down? How can we come up with some strategies that can help you to change your behavior despite the barrier?
Much more powerful. So when we hear these excuses, what we can do is we can self-regulate and we can reframe them, and we can say, oh my goodness, I'm not hearing excuses. I'm hearing what is actually getting in the way for my client and what is stopping them from taking action right now. And then once we've reframed them, we can just get really curious.
Yeah.
So we use all those questions to find out what's going on, what can they do? And then once we've got that, all of a sudden there's possibility.
Yeah, I no longer hear these excuses and go, oh, painful. Oh, like I hear them and go, oh, wow, that's gold. Yeah. Okay. What else is getting in the way? Yep. Okay. And then allow that client, to, as you say, like suddenly go, all right, these are valid. Let's see what we can do to work with them. And as you say, we are just, reflecting. We're using good open questions. We're using our good coaching skills there to support a client to come up with a plan to get over these barriers and to start creating change. And suddenly it feels like, hang on a second, change is possible.
Excuses that we hear from our clients are really valuable pieces of information. Like you said, Shivaun, they're the gold that we can use to help our clients to change their behavior.
Absolutely. So we really hope you enjoyed today's podcast and aren't so scared of excuses anymore and validate your own. And if you love today's podcast and our other podcasts, please subscribe and share with your friends, colleagues, and also head over to our website where you can learn more about coaching. We've got free webinars and resources in our courses at accreditedhealthcoaching.com.au. You can also follow us on socials where you'll find tips about health coaching, and we'd love you to message us to let us know what you'd like us to discuss in our future podcasts.